So hiring and training field personnel is a major challenge in today's environment. So does Roto-Rooter deploy any technology-based training aids?
So currently we have a few using the Office 365 platform, and some of the tools with SharePoint and Teams. We are in the process right now of deploying a learning management system or an LMS. And really that's going to help bringing in brand new technicians in that have no training to mid-level on up. So that's how we really start in your career path here, is starting as a trained technician, but then providing the tools to become certified and licensed down the road. We've got hundreds of employees that are now fully licensed plumbers, and that usually takes a good three to 5+ years to attain that certification. So just like an electrician, some of the trades out, you have to have your journeymanship, you have to have your training X amount of hours. And if we can leverage technology to get you there quicker, we'll definitely do that. And I think LMS is a really good platform to leverage that, especially mobile users that are out in the field.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. I never would have thought that, 3 to 5 years before you got some of those certifications. That's interesting stuff.
Sure.
So what unique challenges do you guys face specifically in the plumbing industry?
Well, definitely finding people that want to be plumbers. But more importantly, it is finding the right skills to service the customer, not only from drain care, drain cleaning to plumbing. There's so many different types of plumbing, but then having the tools, the inventory, and the speed to get there. We've had several weather events last year, in particular the event that happened in Houston, Texas, where we had ice storms, and there are some cities that are just not prepared well to deal with that. So when you have an event like that, it's critical to not only logistically get more resources there, but also working with local, state, and municipalities to get people restored back to where they were.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine that's quite challenging, especially when your footprint is, all across the nation. So I can imagine, that's a challenge in itself.
Yeah, sure.
So Paul, and a lot of people don't know this, but ChemEd is involved with hospice and healthcare as well as the plumbing industry. Do you guys operate as part of the corporate IT group, or is that an independent company? And does that pose any unique challenges with you and your team?
Yeah, it's a great question, but we are independently run, separate, completely separate companies. So Vitas, who is our home healthcare hospice company, they're based out of Miami, Florida, has their unique IT group. Roto-Rooter, we're based here in Cincinnati, but I do have responsibility for the ChemEd for the parent company. So that's the only two that really come into play. What I will say is, you look at our two businesses and say, wow, those are so far, the difference, the gap there is so far. But really, at the end of the day, when you look at the two, it is emergency-based services. And Vitas has unique, compliance with HIPAA and PHI for healthcare. But when you do look at it, and Patrick Hale is the CIO for Vitas, and we get together a couple of times a year. It's pretty similar when you start delivering those services. So we do share a lot of best practices and ideation around how we're going to deliver the business, not only now, but the roadmap.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because when I was doing some research, I thought the same thing, Paul. I thought they were so different from an industry perspective, but you're right. They have a lot of synergies now that you gave that explanation.
Mm-hmm.
So on the other front, let's face it, Roto-Rooter is doing very well. In fact, I looked at this and from Q2 of 2021, it says that income was up 40% over last year. So was there a specific IT innovation that contributed to this, positive result? And to dovetail off of that, when you get 20% revenue increase, I'm sure that places a lot of stress on you and your team.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, even going back 8.5 years when I started, we were a $300 million company, and just working through budgets this year, we'll be very close to $1 billion in top line revenue. I'd like to say, IT, there's a good play there, but it really does come down to the hard work that the field does of managing all of the calls and the tickets that come in. IT in general, we try to look for those efficiency gains of, as we talked about earlier, with suggestive dispatching for our technicians and their skill codes, but then really interfacing with the customer and creating that Uber-like experience. So when you schedule your service, bringing the customer along that journey is where we absolutely need to be, and we're getting there over time. But IT, and from a services side, striking the right balance of getting those jobs out there to the technicians is what we're focused on.